Good morning, fellow Plexers. Today's video is at the request of Phil, who I imagine is in some of the Plex media support groups on Facebook. He contacted me through Facebook Messenger this morning and asked the simple question of how to add Die Hard to a collection for his Plex server. He shared a YouTube video with me where the gentleman only showed how to create a manual collection, which is not the best answer for this series. And even though I've got many different collection tutorial videos on YouTube for Plex, I wanted to do one kitchen sink collection video. Show you how to start a library off with automatic TMDB collections, how to fix a library that didn't have that enabled by default, while also showing how to create a manual Die Hard and a smart Die Hard collection and the benefits and the pitfalls of each. So in order to do that, I'm using my test server on my older Synology NAS that up until this point only had public domain media on it. So I've transferred some Die Hard movies, some Die Hard movies, and a James Bond movie called Die Another Day, because that'll help illustrate a point when creating a smart collection. So the regular movie library I did not want to use because in all my Plex tutorial videos, I always suggest changing this advanced setting to create the TMDB collections automatically. Now, I don't want a collection created until I have at least 2 movies. When you create a new movie library, by default, this is disabled. I don't really think one collection size or a collection size of 1 is handy. I'd rather not see that collection until I add the second movie. And that way, if a movie is released right now and there's going to be a sequel to it in 2 or 3 years, why have that single movie collection in your library? It just doesn't make sense. So, I don't want to use this because it's already set up for collections. So what I did is I just created another one pointing to the same structure, and I've named that movies no TMDB collections. So if I go to the advanced settings, you see this is still set for disabled. So that's my setup, and that's the library we'll deal with. And somebody's streaming on my regular server, and we're still detecting credits and intros on this new test library. So back over at TMDB, I've simply searched for Die Hard. And instead of clicking into the movie, I'm going to click the collection. Now there's 2 collections that pop up, the actual Die Hard and this other one, Hard Target. I don't know what that is. So if I enter that, you'll see that there's already a poster associated with it. And up here under media, there's 12 backdrops or background images and 79 posters. Well, those numbers represent all different language posters and backdrops. Well, I don't really see how there's a language associated with a backdrop, so all languages of Plex or all installed Plex versions with different languages are going to see these same backdrops. But depending on your language that Plex server is set for, that will depend which posters you see. And if we scroll down, we'll see the movies in this collection. And if I back up far enough, if I click into any of the movies as part of this collection, I can then scroll down and see that it's part of a collection and get back there and view it to see what there is. So I want to use a couple different examples before we go into Plex server to show how to fix a library that isn't set up for collections. Let's search for James Bond. Enter, and you'll see there's one collection. And if I click into it and drop down, there's 26 movies as part of that collection. Let's also search for Fast and Furious. And we see a collection here too. And there are 11 movies. So we can be done with TMDB for now. So let's edit this one more time. And go back in and see the collection options. So again, I like to set it for 2 because I don't want to see single item collections. If you only want to see movies that are a trilogy or higher, set it for 3. The last option is 4, and that would capture movies that have more than a trilogy. So that would capture your bigger collections, like your James Bond, your Fast and Furious, your Bourne collection, Star Trek, Star Wars, that sort of stuff, where there's at least 4 movies. So that's why there's the options like that. So I'll leave this disabled. And let's move on to content. So this is media I've copied from my regular server over. And what I want to do first is I want to throw some red herrings in. So I don't want to have any Die Hard movies yet. Well, actually, yes. Let me take the first 3 Die Hard movies, along with these 2 Die Hards, and there's one more movie I want. Where is it? Die Another Day, the James Bond. And that'll leave me 2 more Die Hard movies that aren't in the library. So I'm going to cut that and add it to this test movie library. Let's make Plex full screen. And you'll see that it's going to automatically scan, which it's already doing, and it's starting to add those movies now. So here's the Bond movie, here's the first 3 Die Hard movies, and here's the 2 Die Hard movies. And that'll be consequential when we learn how to create a smart collection. So I don't have to wait for the credits or the intros to be detected. I can go into my library settings, and note there's no collections at this point. I can go into the library settings to manage library, edit, advanced, and now with an existing library I can change the minimum collection size to 2, save changes. No matter how many times you scan this, nothing's going to happen. But the minute Plex automatically refreshes the metadata, which you may have set up in scheduled tasks, or you can go to Manage Library and refresh metadata, it's going to create those automatic collections. So it scanned the library, and now it's creating the automatic collections. So it grabbed the Die Hard one, and did it create a Die Hard? Well, let me refresh my web browser, and that'll show me the collection tab that's new. So no, it did not create the Die Hard one. So let's come back to TMDB, because that was unexpected. Let's scroll down. Well, even though it seemed unexpected, there's no collection listed at TMDB, so that's working just as it should. So that was a little distraction. So I have my Die Hard collection, and it shows in library mode and collection mode. So before we go too far, I want to show you another Plex setting that has to do with collections, no matter how they're created. So if I go to Manage Library and Edit again, I have another video to make for that Facebook user. If I go to Advanced and I scroll down, the default option for collections is to show collections and their items. If I change this to hide collections but show their items, it'll have this effect. The collection disappeared from the library mode and it only shows in this collection tab. Let's go back to library mode. If I go back in and edit it again to the advanced settings, and now I pick the next option, hide items that are in a collection. This is one that some people like. So now from the library mode, it will not show the individual Die Hard movies, no matter how they're named. It'll just show the collection, and then when you enter it, you'll see your Die Hard movies. This actually shrinks the size of your library, because if you had, say, the Bond or the Fast and Furious, well, what did the Bond have? 24, 26 movies? Those will be removed from the library tab, and you'll just see the James Bond movies. So if you're looking for Die Another Day and you have a big library, that might be confusing because the server might have it, but it would be in the James Bond collection. So let's do this. Let's pretend this was a huge collection and one of the Die Hard movies is named A Day to Die Harder. So it might not be sorted by the A, but Another Day to Die Hard. Let's say it was named that, so that movie would be with the A's, and you just think the server didn't have it if you were searching manually. Well, if you did a search, you're going to see any movie that's in the library. So I just want to point out why you may or may not want to use that feature. And if we go back to Manage Library, to Advanced, you can show the collections and their items, which is the default setting like I had it. So that's where we'll leave it. So before we add any more movies to this library, the two remaining Die Hard ones, let's create a manual and then a smart Die Hard collection. So the manual is easy. Find one of the movies, click the little circle to fill it in, and then you can do that again or click anywhere on the poster to select the movie. And you'll see 3 items selected, and I can deselect them here if I want. While they're selected, hit the edit. Go to tags, drop down. You see that they're already part of that TMDB Die Hard collection. So I'm going to type Die Hard space manual. And now I have to click down here to add it. So now those 3 movies are part of 2 collections. And from the collection tab, I see both collections. You'd have to supply your own poster and artwork. Let me add a smart collection and I'll show you how to find artwork for manual or smart collections. From the library tab, click on this symbol, Add To, click on Smart Collections, and then we'll leave the sort by title, but it could be by year or something else. And this is the default qualifier, which is title. But you can add other qualifiers, like maybe genre. So let me leave that there. The title is going to contain Die Hard. But say there was a Die Hard cartoon movie you didn't want in here, or an animated. You could choose is not and pick animation to remove anything like that. So this works, but if I only sorted by die, now I'm picking up A Brain That Wouldn't Die, Die Another Day, along with the 2 Die Hard movies. So you do want to have just the right keywords to search from. Now I can choose to sort this the default way, or maybe if I wanted to sort it by year or release date, now I've got the newest movie first, which is what I'm going to do for this collection, but I can reverse the sort by clicking the year again. Now it looks like the TMDB collection. I could sort it by release date too, and now you see the actual day and month in here. So this is still newest to oldest, and if I reverse that sort, you could sort by critical rating. But for a collection like this, why would you? But it just so happens that the rating declines as each new movie is released. So that would keep the order, but maybe the fourth or fifth movie had a better rating than the third one. So let's just keep this by, it can be year or release date, and I'll have it newest to oldest. So then over here at the little triangle part of Save As, click that, Save as Smart Collection. This name is going to be the name of your movie library, which isn't very useful. So I'll name this Die Hard Smart Collection. So now if I go back to the library and go to the Collection tab, I see all three, and there's no artwork for this or background posters. Where if I edit this movie, there's all those posters that were at TMDB and all the background images. So it's easy to customize this, and not every client app shows background images, unfortunately. Android TV, they do. I don't think it does with the HTPC client app that you'd use on a desktop or laptop computer under any operating system. Okay, so let's stay in collection mode, and when we come back, watch these two numbers. Oh, watch all three numbers. We'll add the next movie in the series to the library, which is this 2007. Now this scanner is going to scan automatically. It'll do that first and then quickly build the collection. So watch here or there. They changed to 4 very quickly, and now both those collections have the additional movie going with a sort for each collection, and this smart one was newest to oldest. That almost doesn't look like Bruce Willis in this photo or in that movie poster. So the manual collection is shit out of luck. There's nothing there, but we'll fix that at the end. All right, let's add the last one into the library. And watch the numbers again. Plex is scanning automatically, and the number changes very quickly. So we have all 5 of the movies, oldest to newest, in the TMDB collection, which is probably what Phil will want. The Smart collection can be sorted from newest to oldest, which I kind of prefer for my own collections, but I'm not going to get rid of the Die Hard default collection because it's only 5 movies. And then the manual one will need manual adjustment. So we can do that from the Library tab. So instead of searching for everything from the library, which you could do, you could go to Recommended, and now you're looking for the recently added movie that you have to add to the collection manually. And I can select both at the same time. Click the pencil, and again, it shows 2 items selected, and you can deselect over here, or you can uncheck. Let's edit that. Go to Tags. Now, you'll see they're part of the default TMDB collection, and just clicking after it shows me my other collections, so it's easy to click in for the manual, save changes, and from the collection tab, now all 5 movies are in. So let's show you where to get posters from. And this is a great site, the Poster Database. Feel free to register like I have. So I'm going to type Die Hard and search, And you notice there's a movies, basically a tab, shows, collection, user, people, companies. Well, let me click the collection tab. Die Hard collection right at the top. And let's pick a couple ones that would not be what TMDB offered. Let's pick this one. And you'll get to see my messy download folder. And let's pick, well, let's pick this one. Now I could also search for some Die Hard wallpaper. Just with Google. So that looks good. Yeah, so this will be the kitchen sink video on collections. I'm going to look for one more, so I might as well copy that file name. Let's see. That one looks cool. Oh, I don't need to copy and paste. I could do it this way. All right, so I've just grabbed 4 images off the internet. So now if I edit this and go to posters and choose an image, let's pick the bottom one for this. Then go to background and do the same thing. Let's pick the bottom background, save changes, and let's add some images to this one. Pick the top of the collection, and we'll do the same for the background. Okay, so now I have poster and backgrounds. The web app's not going to show the background, but a lot of Plex server clients will.
Text message.
And I have the posters. So that's how you can doctor up manual and automatic collections. And the only downfall with a manual collection is that when you add the next movie to the series, you'll have to add that manually, but it's not hard to do. So let's go and look at my regular movie library from the collection point of view, and I'll show you some of the unique smart and manual collections that I've added. So you can tell it's a smart collection by the little gear in the upper right hand corner. And if I go to the 3 dots and I edit my filters, I'm simply sorting by this one studio. And here's all the different filters you can use. And say this studio made animated movies, and I didn't want the animated movies in this collection. I could add another sort, and I could change the sort to genre, and I could choose is not, and actually I could remove drama from this. So I'm down to 5. Let me remove it and pick a new one. Let me pick comedy, and I've got 20. And if I remove that all together, I have 24. So you could do A24 dramatic movies. You could do A24 comedic movies if you really wanted to get that fine with your sort. So you can easily do an artist like Adam Sandler. That's pretty easy, simple and straightforward. And you always have the choice of how you sort them. I could reverse this year sort and have oldest to newest. But I kind of like to see the newer ones on top with these sort of collections. And of course, let me back up. If I did change the sort, I'd have to update the collection over here. I don't want to forget to mention that. So let me scroll through and see some unique collections that I've made both ways. Oh, this is a good example. Apple TV Plus. This is a manual collection. In my TV show library, I can do an automatic collection, and let's switch gears. So I have two. I have Apple TV Plus and then ones that are only TV shows. And these are both smart collections. So I'll edit this. So I'm removing documentary as a genre, and the network is Apple TV show. Or, I'm sorry, Apple TV Plus. And then on this one for documentaries, it has to be a documentary genre, and the network is Apple TV Plus. So if I go back to my movie library, and let's go to library, and we'll create a smart collection. There is no network for a movie library to sort anything by. The closest you can come is maybe a producer or a writer or director, but there's no network, and I kind of wish there was. I wish there was a special category for the Netflix or the Hulu or the Disney and that sort of things, or even MGM and stuff like that, or Paramount. So that's kind of a limitation, which would force you into using a default collection. All right, so let's look for some interesting smart and manual collections. I have a Christmas smart collection I want to show you. So like I've got a manual beach party collection of 14 movies. I thought it'd be fun. My aunt, who's now passed away, she passed away in the spring. When I first shared my Plex server with her, her biggest comment was there was no religious movies on the server. So I went out and found a bunch of religious movies. And she occasionally watched movies on my server, and not once did she watch a religious movie. But in honor of her, the collection is still there. I'll never watch any of them. Okay. This is a fun manual collection. And I thought this was an interesting collection to make, and I chose to sort this one. This is manual, from oldest to newest. Let's see here. So I think this is going to be my most complex smart collection. Now we all know what Christmas Countdown refers to, and I've added movies that are from any TV type of network, cable TV type of network, that are Christmas movies. So let's edit that and I'll show you how I did it. I have a lot of qualifiers, and the first one I added was that it must be a TV movie as a genre, and it must not be animation as a genre. So then I added just titles. Any movie that started with Christmas, any movie that started with holiday. To add this movie, I needed Baby It's Cold. Snow was thrown in there, Bell Ring, which also covers bell ringing or bell rings. 5 more minutes. There's no way I could add whatever the full title of that movie was without putting that in. Miracle, Gingerbread, Holly, North Pole Jingles, Spirits Bright, Mistletoe, and so on. And sometimes I actually have to add a lot of the movie title, like Never Been Christ, the most colorful time of the year. But mostly I can just use keywords to capture everything, and I have not yet had to put a title is not to remove something, because making sure it's not animated and making sure it's a TV movie is enough. And then I sort it by release date. Now watch my sort if I change to date or to year. This is no longer the first movie, even though it was the most recently released one. So let's go back to release date, and that's how I like it. And if the only adjustment I have to do is sometimes there's an entry that's clearly a TV movie, and sometimes it's not labeled properly. So let me click in to edit this movie. From the General tab, or is it the Tag tab? From the Tag tab, sometimes I have to manually add that it's a TV movie under genre, and then it sorts into this smart collection nicely. So this is a complicated one. And then I have a foreign film one that's complicated too. Oh, focus features is a nice one to do, but that's a manual because when I add focus features as a sort option, I don't capture all the media. So that's a nice manual one. And it's easy. If you add a new movie and you watch it and you see the focus feature tagline at the front, oh, hold on, let me pause that. I'll add it to my collection right from my tablet. Foodalicious was a fun one that I thought of. And I created my own posters. I created this, I created the foreign films. Just grab a Google image that works. The ratio is always 1.5 times the height than the width. So if you've got a picture that's square, but you can crop it to the dimensions 1 by 1.5. It doesn't even matter the pixels. Like 600 by 900 has a lot of detail. You wouldn't want 100 by 150, but as long as you have that ratio, it makes a great poster. And then because I'm a Linux guy, I use the imaging program called GIMP to add my text. All right, so let's edit the foreign film one. And this is a complex one too. And this also depends on your embedded metadata being correct. And that's something I try to check for, especially if it's a foreign film. If the foreign film is in the languages, let's say Danish or Finnish, but the flags aren't set on the audio track when it's embedded, it could be just unknown, you won't capture those movies. So especially if I add a foreign language film, I'll right click and open the film up in MKV Toolmix to see if it has the language code assigned to it. Otherwise, this won't work. But I'm sorting by release date, newest to oldest, and I have to match any of the following, not all. And I'm using audio language as a criteria, and I've just added all these languages, and I capture the foreign films. So there's a lot of stuff you can do with smart collections. And here's my complaint about collections. When I first started with Plex in 2019, I think I was using my first NVIDIA Shield, a 2018 model, and a Fire Stick. The Android TV app on those devices would show this key, this alphabetical key down the side of a collection on those smart devices. Sometime in the last couple of years, this has been removed. And for those of us with quite a large library, it's a pain in the rear end to not be able to quickly go to the H's to look at those collections. Or, well, yeah, Halloween, right? Or to the N's. So I wish that was fixed. It's still here in the web app, but it's not on the clients that I use. And the last thing I want to talk about is adding a collection to your home. I've got separate videos where I've done that. And right now I have this Halloween B movie, Halloween Family, and I think I've added Halloween originals to my home. So let me add let me add the Halloween collection too. And it's very easy to do. Oh, and I forgot to mention, Smart Collections are a Plex Pass feature if my memory serves me right. So from the collection, and it can be a TMDB, a manual, or a Smart Collection, click the three dots and choose Visible on Library. That's enough. You could choose Visible on All, and I'll do 2 of them. So now when you go to the server settings, and I'm in my regular server, so I'll drop down and I'll click Library and press the cough button. Excuse me. And I'm back. The cough button is just pausing the video or the recording with OBS Studios. All right, so once you're into the Manage Library view, go to the library, and just by hovering your mouse over it, you'll see Manage Recommendations. And down at the bottom, you'll now see this collection pushed to recommendations, and that's where I can click the next box. Now I can drag it up, and let me put it between my Halloween B movies and the seasonal movies that Plex turns on around Halloween and Christmas. And if you go to the top, this check means it's only in the library recommended when you're in the library itself. Oh, what happened there? I'll have to watch the video to see if somebody was streaming, because they're not now. Well, they're back. Okay, so this puts it just in the library recommended tab when you're in the library itself. This adds it to your own home, and this adds it to your friend's home. So the result, if I go back to my home, and if you're not this deep into the customization, however you order your libraries on the left, when you're in the home, whatever ribbons you have showing in the TV show library or the movie library or music or so on, when you're at home, that's how they're stacked. So you always have your continue watching ribbon. I've pushed this collection that I've made, newest theatrical trailer or releases, to the top of home for myself and my users. And then by default, recently released movies is only on for the ribbon when you're in your library, but it's not on for your user's home or your home. I turn it on for all. Recently added movies is there. And then you see my first pushed collection. Now when it's Oscar time, I push my Oscar collection to home about 2 weeks before the Oscars are done, or whenever I'm aware of it. It could be 2 days, it could be a month, it could be 2 weeks. So now I have the Halloween Huluween original collection pushed, the Halloween B movies, and now the Halloween collection that we just did together. And last but not least is Plex's seasonal recommendation. It's not really my collection, but they've created like this virtual collection made up of movies in my library that fits their criteria. So now the next ribbon from home is tied to my TV show library, which is next in line as they're stacked. And again, I make the adjustment so that the recently released is also pushed to my home in my user's home. And I've pushed, for right now, my mini-series collection to the home. And sometimes I mix that up. And now the playlists are there. And now a ribbon for music. And a ribbon for my 4K library. And this ribbon comes from my performing arts movie library, couple ribbons, including a Christmas one. And then this is my concert library showing up next with a couple ribbons. And that's the end of it. So I don't think I've left anything out with Plex collections. I didn't show you the TV show collection, so that's something else. I can't remember now. Did I mention that I can create these Apple TV or a CBS one because in a TV show library, there's the added qualifier of network that you don't have in a movie library. So that's kind of fun. You can create network-based collections. This international show is very similar to my foreign films collection as a smart collection. Instead of using the language, I'm using country that produced the series. So you may have English spoken series that were still made in South Africa or New Zealand. So that's just a different collection here. What else is unique? Oh, I can do a mini-series TV collection because there's an official sort for it. I like that one. And here's a manual collection I have in both my movie library and my main movie library, and I think I have it in my documentary library. And I'm glad I thought about this because I can talk about cross-reference collections in the client apps. So this is just a manual collection called Alternate History. And I just picked some TV shows that really show like a different universe than what we're in. Not just parts of our world changing, but wholesale changes in the world. The Man in the High Castle. What if Nazi Germany won World War II? 11/22/63. What if a time traveler could prevent President Kennedy from being assassinated? Counterpart. I love that little 2-season show where there was another dimension that a spy kind of escaped to or got caught in. Be Foreigners was a fun European show by HBO where people from different times just kept dropping into our time, and it was like illegal immigrants, but they weren't like from other countries. Like you had Vikings appear in the present day Northern Europe to be assimilated by the culture. It was just a fun show. War of the Worlds, Watchmen, this other, it was a combination French and I think BBC joint venture. That was a very good series. For All Mankind is my most favorite alternate history movie. Noughts and Crosses were what if Africans early on settled in England and there was a culture reversal where the Africans were the dominant class and the white people were the lower class. The BBC does a lot of, or British television does a lot of great shows on class. They have one about zombies where there's a cure and the people that were infected as zombies, if they were still alive, could be injected and very slowly they would get better. And it was another like class issue where there's a lot of discrimination against former zombies as they were recovering, and some people wanted to wipe them out and others would not want them returned to their original community. Just they do some great dramas along class lines by throwing a science fiction theme to it. Plot Against America was by HBO. Charles Lindbergh was quite racist in real life and a supporter of the Nazi regime, and it's what if he ran for president and won? What would happen to the Jews in America if the German Nazi idea spread widely to America back then? And remember, back then, Madison Square Garden had a meeting of American Nazis. What was it, like 50 or 70,000 Americans attended that? Not too unlike some of our certain political rallies today in a way that's kind of filled with hatred. And I thought Hollywood as a TV show fit that vein too. So I'm going on a lot about this, but what I want to show you is if I make a manual collection and name it the same in multiple Plex libraries, they cross-reference. So here's this cross-referencing with my main movie library. And I kind of considered It's a Wonderful Life as alternate history. Red Dawn is certainly alternate history. White Man's Burden was an interesting premise, kind of like Noughts and Crosses, the TV show. And if I drop down, oh, I thought I had an alternate history in my documentary library too, but it doesn't seem to be crossing. I have a documentary that I think BBC did it or some other British network. They did a fake documentary based on what if the Civil War had gone the other way in America, where Confederate won and ran on top, or won and was dominant. And I think the documentary was like based in 1980. What American culture would be like if we had that big political reversal. And it was a cool documentary, but not the world I want to live in. So, cross-reference collections are fun. Let me see if I can find another one. They don't work. Sometimes they work with smart collections. They never did. I don't think this is going to cross-reference. Let me find another one. Oh, I know. Star Wars and Star Trek, they're manual collections. They will cross-reference. Star Trek. All the TV shows. Oh, it's not cross-referencing. So this is a dud. I haven't really played with those in a long time. Nope, I'll have to figure that out, and that'll be another addendum to the topic of collections. So, I appreciate you watching, and this is kind of the kitchen sink collection video. And Phil, I hope this isn't information overload, but it's everything you could want to know about Plex collections as best as I could remember in the moment. Phil and everyone else, thanks for watching.